Imagine you are working 18 hours a day, every single day. Your hands are bleeding, your eyes are burning. You have not slept properly in months. You are giving everything you have, every drop of your energy, every second of your time, and yet nothing is changing. Nothing. The world around you keeps moving, people keep succeeding, and you are standing in the same place, screaming inside a body that is slowly giving up. Ask yourself right now, is working hard really enough? Or is there something else, something nobody ever told you, that separates the ones who make it from the ones who burn out trying? This is the story of two brothers. And by the end of this story, your entire thinking about success will never be the same again. In a small town on the outskirts of Lucknow, there lived a family with almost nothing. A father who drove a rickshaw, a mother who stitched clothes at home, and two sons, Arjun and Rohan. The house had two rooms, a leaking roof, and a single bulb that sometimes worked and sometimes did not. The walls had cracks in them. The floor was cold in winter, and the tin roof turned the house into an oven in summer. The neighbors looked at this family the way people always look at poverty, with a mixture of pity and quiet judgment. Those people will never get out, they would whisper. The father is a rickshaw driver. What future do those boys have? But inside that broken house lived two burning dreams and two very different ideas about how to reach them. Arjun was the older brother. He was 22 years old, broad-shouldered, serious-faced, and deeply responsible. From the age of 16, he had taken on the weight of the family without anyone asking him to. He woke up every morning at 4. He worked at a construction site during the day, carried bricks, lifted cement bags, and came home at night with dust on his face and pain in his back. Then, after dinner, he would sit under that flickering bulb and study for government exams. He never complained. He never rested. He believed with all his heart that if he worked hard enough, if he just pushed himself a little more every single day, success would come knocking. The neighborhood had taught him this. His father had taught him this. Every elder, every teacher, every person who had ever given him advice had said the same thing. Work hard, son. Work hard and everything will be fine. So Arjun believed it. He held on to it like a rope over a cliff. Rohan was the youngest brother by 3 years. He was quieter, more curious, always watching, always thinking. He did not work at the construction site. Instead, he sat in the local library for hours, reading books that had nothing to do with their school syllabus. Business books, biographies, books about systems and habits and how wealth is actually built. He would come home and ask questions that irritated Arjun deeply. Strange questions like, Bhai, why do some people earn more by working less? Or, why does the man who owns the factory earn more than the man who builds it? Arjun would look up from his textbooks, exhausted and dusty, and shake his head. Stop dreaming and start working. Nothing comes free in this world. You want to read stories while I carry bricks? Do you even understand what pressure this family is under? Rohan would go quiet, but he would not stop thinking. And so the two brothers walked different roads, both moving toward the same destination, a better life, but in completely different ways. The neighborhood watched and made its bets. Most of them put their money on Arjun. He was the one working after all. He was the responsible one. Rohan, they said, was the dreamer. And dreamers, in their experience, ended up nowhere. What none of them knew was that life was about to teach every single one of them a lesson they would never forget. Years passed. Arjun kept working harder. He attempted the government exam 4 times and failed each time by just a few marks. 4 times. Each result came like a slap across a face that was already bruised. He would stare at the result screen, jaw tight, eyes burning, and then go back to the construction site the next morning without telling anyone how he felt. He took on extra shifts, started delivering newspapers before sunrise, began tutoring neighborhood children in the evenings. He was running on 3 hours of sleep. His body was beginning to crack. His mother would stand in the kitchen doorway at night, watching him hunch over his books and press her dupatta to her mouth to hide the worry on her face. She would say nothing. What was there to say to a son who was trying this hard? Around this same time, Rohan had started something small. With borrowed money, just 3,000 rupees from a neighbor. He had started a tiny printing service from home. He printed wedding cards, visiting cards, banners for local shops. It was nothing grand. The neighbors laughed. "Look at the dreamer," they said. "His brother carries bricks and he's playing with paper." But Rohan did not just print. He watched. He studied his customers before they even finished asking what they needed. He sat with shopkeepers and listened to their problems. He noticed that most local businesses had no proper logo, no visual identity, nothing that made them look trustworthy to a customer walking by. So he opened YouTube at midnight and taught himself basic design. No course, no teacher, no money for coaching, just curiosity and time. He started offering logo design along with printing. Customers were surprised. Then they started telling other customers. Then he noticed that these same businesses needed social media posts, banners for WhatsApp, content for Instagram. He learned that too. He was not doing more work. He was doing work that multiplied. Every new skill he added did not just earn him more. It unlocked an entirely new group of customers. One evening, both brothers sat on the rooftop. The city sounds drifted up from below. Stars were faint behind the city haze. Arjun was quiet for a long time, staring at nothing, then said slowly, "You got lucky, Rohan. Not everyone can just sit and think and earn money. Some of us have to actually break our backs to survive." Rohan turned to look at him. He did not answer immediately. He just looked at his older brother. This strong, tired, deeply good man, and something in his eyes was heavy with things he did not yet know how to say. He looked away. "Maybe, bhai," he said quietly. "Maybe." But the conversation was not over. Life would finish it. It was a Tuesday in July. Arjun had been awake since 3 in the morning. Newspapers delivered. Construction site done. He was on his way to his evening tuition students, walking along the roadside in the brutal July heat, when his legs simply stopped. He did not fall dramatically. He did not collapse like they do in films. He just sat down on the footpath. He thought about his father, pedaling a rickshaw at 60 years old. He thought about the 4 failed exams. He thought about his hands, his back, his 3 hours of sleep, and asked himself honestly, what has all of this actually produced? Not in a defeated way, in an honest way, in the way a man asks when he finally stops running long enough to look at where he is standing. He reached over and picked up a thin dog-eared book from the table beside him. Rohan had left it there weeks ago. He had ignored it then. He opened it now. It was about how successful people think differently, not just differently in terms of attitude, but structurally different. They chose differently. They aimed differently. They did not just push harder. They pushed in the right direction. He read it in one sitting. Then he read it again. Something in his chest cracked open, not broke, cracked open, like a seed finally splitting to let something grow. That night, he called Rohan into the room. The bulb was flickering as always. Rohan sat on the edge of the cot. Arjun looked at him for a long moment. This younger brother he had always half dismissed, and said four words he had never said to anyone in his life. Teach me what you know. Rohan did not say I told you so. He did not make a face or pause for effect. He just nodded. Okay, he said. Let's start. What happened next was not a miracle. There was no lottery win, no overnight transformation, no wealthy stranger who appeared with an opportunity. What happened was far more real and far more powerful than any of that. Every evening, Rohan sat with Arjun. He did not tell him to stop working hard. He told him to redirect that energy. He showed Arjun that a problem looked completely different depending on where you were standing when you looked at it. He showed him that 2 hours spent on the right task could produce more than 12 hours spent on the wrong one. He showed him that skills compound, that each thing you learn does not just add to your value, it multiplies everything you already have. Arjun Bhai, Rohan said one night, spreading paper across the floor between them. You have been pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. The water is not the problem. Your effort is not the problem. We just need to fix the hole. Arjun was quiet. Then he said, Show me the hole. Within weeks, Arjun had helped Rohan's printing business in ways Rohan had not even imagined. He noticed where time was being wasted on repetitive tasks. He created systems, sample checklists, a workflow that cut errors in half and doubled output without adding a single extra hour of work. He started managing client communication and quickly realized something important. Most customers were leaving not because of poor quality, but because nobody followed up with them afterward. He built a simple follow-up process. Returning clients increased dramatically. Revenue doubled. 6 months later, the business had grown beyond what 2 people could manage alone. They hired 2 people from their own neighborhood, then 3 more. The business that had started with 3,000 rupees in a borrowed room was now generating enough to pay off the family's debts, to repair the leaking roof, to buy their father a small electric rickshaw so he did not have to pedal through the summer heat anymore. The neighbors who had laughed went quiet. Arjun cleared his government exam on the 5th attempt. But this time, he did not study more hours. He studied differently. He analyzed the last 15 years of exam papers and identified which topics appeared consistently and which had never appeared at all. He focused entirely on the high-weight sections. He let go of what did not matter. He still woke up early. He still gave everything. But his effort was now aimed, precise, like a laser instead of scattered sunlight. When the result came, the family was sitting together in that same small house, the same cracked walls, the same flickering bulb. The mother saw the name on the screen, Arjun Kumar, selected, and she made a sound that was both crying and laughing, something that has no name in any language but every family recognizes. The father sat with his hands folded and his head bowed and his lips moving in a prayer that had no words. Arjun stared at the screen and felt something leave his body, something enormous and heavy that he had been carrying for so long. He had forgotten what it felt like to stand without it. Rohan put his arm around his brother's shoulder and said quietly, You always had it in you, Bhai. You just needed to aim it right. Arjun, this man who had carried bricks, who had wept alone, who had collapsed on a footpath and refused to quit, who had swallowed 6 years of failure without breaking, looked at his younger brother and nodded, because he understood now, not as an idea, as a truth he had lived through. Hard work is sacred. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Arjun's years of grinding built something in him that cannot be bought or borrowed. Discipline, grit, the refusal to quit when everything hurts. None of those years were wasted. They were building the man who would eventually know exactly what to do with an opportunity when it arrived. But hard work without direction is a powerful engine with no steering wheel. You will move. You will move with tremendous speed and tremendous sacrifice. And you might spend years going the wrong way. Smart work is not the opposite of hard work. It is what hard work becomes when it finally asks the right question. Where exactly am I going? And is this the best path to get there? The world will always respect the person who gives everything. But the world rewards the person who gives everything and also thinks clearly. Effort is the foundation. Strategy is the building you construct on top of it. You need both. One without the other is, at best, half a life. So here is the question this story is really asking you. Not about Arjun, not about Rohan, about you, right now, today. Are you the person who is working with complete effort but no direction? Running fast toward a destination you have never actually stopped to examine? Or are you the person with all the plans and none of the commitment? Thinking and strategizing but never truly bleeding for what you want? Because the answer to that question is the first sentence of your own story, the one that is still being written, the one where no one else holds the pen but you. If something in this story landed somewhere real inside you, drop a comment and then tell me which moment hit the hardest. Tell me if you are an Arjun or a Rohan right now. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, send it to them. Because sometimes one story, reaching one person at exactly the right moment, changes the entire direction of a life. Like this video, share it, and then go aim at something that actually matters. Keep working, keep thinking, keep going.